8 Democrats have sided with Republicans to reopen the government. Now, the Democrat Party wants Chuck Schumer's head on a stick. They want him driven from Washington, D.C. They say these 8 Democrats should be shunned and shamed and removed from the party. To help me go through all of this, I have Lindy Lee. Lindy, thank you for joining me again.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this talk.
Oh, I've been looking forward to it. All right, so for those of you who don't know, Lindy Lee, amazing person. She has been a Democrat for most of her life. She helped raise funds for Kamala Harris. She then saw behind the curtain and realized that things are not what we all believe they are. She knows a lot about Obama, a lot about Biden, a lot about Kamala Harris. Today, I want to get your thoughts. So far left Democrats and Democrat leaders are now furious with Chuck Schumer. They want his head on a stick. They say he's incapable of being the top leader of the Democrat Party, that he has no business in Congress, that he should have kept the government closed indefinitely in order to shame and humiliate Donald Trump. What are your thoughts on everything that's happened in the last 48 hours with this vote to reopen the U.S. government?
Frankly, Stephen, I'm just ashamed that we have a party that has devolved into this cabal of people who don't even care about the American people. It's just weird to me. I want to point out to everyone that they held out for 40 days, basically starving millions of Americans, refusing to pay federal workers, refusing to pay our troops. And the moment the election is over, they cave, and not even for a promise in writing, for a promise verbally, like on honor, that there's going to be a healthcare vote, which basically suggests what? That they did it all for the election. They shut down the government as an election gimmick.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear. We are just pawns to them. American people are just collateral damage. They don't actually care. They just care about political gain and doing whatever they can to consolidate power. It's just so cynical and depraved to me.
Yeah, it is. It's really grotesque to me how they make Trump to be the boogeyman so that they can get all these benefits and extract votes and scare people into keeping them in power for 10, 20, 50 years. I wish more people would just open their eyes and go, wait a minute, my life is hard. My city's falling apart. Democrats have been in control for 50 years. Maybe it's the Democrats. Instead, they go, think how much worse it would be under a Republican, right? And then they end up voting to put another person back in. But I think you're onto something here. It's like, why did they cave so quickly after the election? And it's not like they picked up a lot of important seats. It was mostly blue areas that they won. So for me, it doesn't make a lot of sense, except for they're out of touch with the American people and maybe out of touch with their soul. This seems really inhumane to me.
Oh, you're totally right. And they wanted a propaganda win on Tuesday, which is what they kind of got. But at the same time, they elected a Democratic socialist freak in New York. So I'm actually happy they did. Like, they think that it was a huge victory. I actually think they handed Republicans a huge narrative victory, because running against someone like Zohran Mamdani, who says, I want to seize the means of production, who is basically an outright communist, running against someone like him is ideal. I want to run against Zohran Mamdani, Jasmine Crockett, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, AOC. I want them to be the face of the Democratic Party. So please keep going.
Yeah. Let's listen to what Ro Khanna had to say about his own party and removing Chuck Schumer, because I'm telling you, they want this guy removed.
I think the point he makes there too about Chuck Schumer refusing to even say who he voted for in New York City, I think it's an important one as well. Because if you're going to be a leader of the Democratic Party and the Democratic base is saying, hey, this is Zohran Mamdani, this is our guy. Like, we like this guy. We like the direction he's going for. We're going to vote for him in the primary. We're going to show up in record-breaking numbers to vote for him in the general election, make sure that he wins. and you can't even say that you voted for the Democratic candidate. I mean, how out of step are you with your own voters in the party, let alone, your own caucus, let alone, colleagues such as you. But he's also, and most importantly, wildly out of step with where his own voters are within the Democratic Party.
So you're absolutely right. I mean, look, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. You had Chuck Schumer cheerleading into the war in Iraq. You've had Chuck Schumer cheerleading for a blank check to Netanyahu. You've had Chuck Schumer betraying us on the first shutdown. You then had Chuck Schumer given multiple opportunities after Zoran won the primary to at least endorse him, even if it was a pro forma endorsement. He doesn't do that. And now he's not even willing to fight to make sure that the ACA subsidies don't increase. So to your earlier question about, are there difficult questions on SNAP benefits and troop pay? Of course there are. And maybe if this was the only context, Chuck Schumer would have some grace and goodwill and say, okay, we disagree with this deal, but it's not enough to call for you to step down. But this is the culmination of someone who just doesn't get it, who doesn't get how much people are hurting, who doesn't get where the base of this party is, who doesn't get how upset this party has been that we're giving all this money to overseas wars and not doing healthcare here, who certainly is never going to support Medicare for all. He's just out of touch. He's not the future of the party.
What do you think is the primary driver right now? Is Chuck Schumer just becoming the sacrificial lamb? Is he the scapegoat, or is there any merit to what is being said about him being removed?
He is definitely going to be removed. That's why he was fighting for his political life. And I want people to be aware that he did this for 40 days because in March he did the right thing and he worked with the Republicans to keep the government open. And guess what happened? He got protested by his own progressive base at his book tour. He had a precious little book tour, and all the progressives came out with their pitchforks because he did the right thing by collaborating with Trump to keep the American government open. So they punished him for doing the right thing. So he learned his lesson and he decided to lurch to the left and try to out socialist AOC, who is basically his contender in the New York City primary. That it's a silent primary going on right now. It's not official, but they're duking it out right now. And he's terrified that she's going to come after his seat. That's what's happening here.
Okay. Ro Khanna put out on X, Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. If you can't lead the fight to stop healthcare premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for? So you believe he's about to be primaried. They're going to spend a lot of money and time forcing him out of Congress?
I don't just believe. I know he's going to either get primaried or he's going to not run in order to save himself from the embarrassment. Because AOC wants that Senate seat. She's wanted it for a long time. She wants to run for president one day. Okay, it brings me pain. It tortures me just to admit that, but yeah, she is angling for that. And that's why she was kind of offended when somebody asked her if Zohran Mamdani is the face of the Democratic Party. No, she wants to be the face. It's all about her. It's always been about her. You know, I've dealt with this woman for years. She's no good.
So you think Zohran Mamdani was a stepping stone for her political career, not to the benefit of New York City?
Stephen, I'm looking at your face and wondering if you're like joking right now. AOC doing something for the American people? That's a first. That's a first. It's always been about her. I remember 7 years ago when I said I'd rather vote for Trump. Like, people think I just switched. I've always been the conservative pillar in that party. 7 years ago, I was saying I'd rather vote for Trump than Bernie Sanders. She tore into me so hard. She launched a cancel culture campaign against me simply because I said I wanted Trump, a capitalist, as a leader of our country versus Bernie Sanders, a communist. So I've had dealings with this woman for a very long time, and I've never thought of her as a person with a moral compass.
Why do you think they're okay? So let me step back. Was this fight really over protecting Obama's legacy with Obamacare? I mean, they all, I've seen interview after interview after interview this morning where they're admitting, we know Obamacare's broken, but it will get worse under Trump. Like, so why do they keep throwing money at something that they admit is broken? Is it because Trump said it's broken and that we should fix it and do good for the American people? So now they have to take the opposite position of defending a piece of crap and like trying to tinfoil over a piece of crap. Why fight so hard for his legacy? I mean, they were literally willing to let military go without paychecks and to let American children go hungry.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. They also understand that if ACA goes away, they have nothing. What have they done for the American people in the past 30 years? What is their crowning legislative achievement other than that? I'll wait. Actually, no, we're on a podcast, so we'll be waiting here for hours. But that's it. That's all they have to their name. You know, I've been hearing a lot of heap being praised on Nancy Pelosi in the wake of her retirement announcement. It's all about the ACA. They have nothing else to talk about. And you're totally right also that this is just throwing good money after bad. If your system requires hundreds of billions of subsidies per year to keep it afloat, then maybe the system isn't viable. Have you thought about that? It's a fundamentally broken system.
Yeah, I feel like they know there's crap in the brownie batter, but they're like, well, they're both brown. We'll just try to mix it up more, and they're making crap. They don't
have an alternative. And I wish I have to be a straight shooter here. I wish Republicans would come up with a viable alternative too, other than a hazy, let's leave it to the private market. We need a better alternative. And I'm not a healthcare expert. I just do know that we're paying 20% of our GDP on the healthcare industry every single year. We're a first-class nation with third-class healthcare outcomes, which is unacceptable. But I also know that ACA is a bunch of, it's just a leaning tower of, it's just a complete mess. It's unsustainable. And yeah, what did you think would happen if you removed pre-existing conditions and threw all the sick people in with the healthy ones? What did you think would happen? Like, do you understand math?
Well, for me, anytime the government gets involved, things get extremely expensive. Look at student.
Yes,
look at student
that's
loan
totally
debt.
right.
Yeah.
I have to interject here because Zoval Mamdani said during his victory speech that there's no problem. What was it? There's no problem too big for the government to solve and no problem too small for the government to care about. That is terrifying language. Yeah. That is the makings of an authoritarian regime. That's not America. America is about liberty and letting people be, right? I don't want the government involved in every nook and cranny of my life. Do you?
No, absolutely not. Let me show you a mashup of what the top leaders in the Democrat Party were saying. And the common takeaway is that they were literally willing to starve Americans of money and food in order to leverage Trump. Let me show that to you because it's pretty disgusting to me.
Oh my God, I know this woman, and
we need to do this while we have the leverage.
Of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer, but it is one of the few leverage times we have.
You reopen the government and we lose our leverage, there has to be an agreement right now. That's what this whole shutdown is about.
Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Frankly, this is our only moment of leverage.
The idea that you would give up all of your leverage and then hopefully get some sort of great deal coming down the pike is just a fool's errand.
Why are working families the leverage the Democrats need to get Obamacare fixed?
It's the only lever we have.
Democrats have this one little sliver right now when we've got some leverage here.
Some Republican senators have pushed a bill that would pay government workers.
I think that just gives the president more leverage.
Catherine was basically expressing, in her own words, the notion that our leverage right now are our votes.
Them wanting to solve the problem that we want to solve, but do it in a couple of days or a couple of weeks when we've given up our negotiating leverage.
Without that leverage, the minority party, would be stuck in the mud and not basically have anything to negotiate.
Okay. So I know that you have to have leverage, right? Trump is using tariffs as leverage for wars and to negotiate. Each party says, hey, if you'll give me X, I'll give you Y, whatever. But literally 40 days, they were literally multiple pay periods. People are dipping into savings. They're going to dollar loan centers. They're standing in line for 3 hours to get milk and bread like they did in Russia. And all of this leverage. They used the American people to get Trump. To me, this is disgusting. Your thoughts?
Oh, it's filthy. It's vile. It's inhumane. And they knew that the states that would be most impacted by SNAP benefits, actually, and also the healthcare premiums going up are red states. They knew that the leverage was primarily going to hurt Trump voters more than Democratic voters, which is so evil. By the way, I'm just putting that out there. Very, very malicious. In fact, the states that would be hit most by healthcare increases are red states. 21 out of the 24 are red states. So they knew that the quote unquote leverage was going to be wreaked more on red states and blue states, which is why they were so willing to do it. It wasn't their voters. It's just so, I just can't emphasize enough how much the entire party has been taken over by Trump derangement syndrome. And it's not just psychological, but it is. Yes, it's a mental condition. I truly believe it because I unfortunately, I had it too. Again, I'm going to be a straight shooter about this. I know I can speak to the condition because I had it. And that's why it took me like a year to clamber out of it. And all it takes is one line, and you start pulling at the string, and then you realize that they lied about everything to you. But Trump derangement syndrome isn't merely psychological; it's also financial. And what I mean by that, it's that their entire fundraising machine is fueled by a hatred for Trump. They need him badly. Okay, without him, they wouldn't have mountains and avalanches of money pouring in. They rely on this guy to keep their fundraising machine afloat. You think that they would have been able to juice all that electoral turnout without Trump? No. Without Trump, they would be an existential mess. They need this guy.
The Fed has finally dropped interest rates, and that's great news for American homeowners. Expenses have been a major burden on families. Wages are flat, prices keep climbing, and for many, the only way to make ends meet is to lean on credit cards. But that cycle of high interest debt makes it hard to stay ahead. If you're a homeowner, I want you to call my friends at American Financing. Right now, interest rates have dropped, and many homeowners are seeing options in the low fives. Compare that to credit cards charging rates in the 20s or higher. There is an easy path to see how you can finally put your hard-earned equity to work for you. American Financing can help you pay off that expensive debt, free up your cash flow, and keep your budget under control. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are saving customers on average $800 a month. And if you get started today, you might be able to delay the next mortgage payment. Take control. Call American Financing today at 888-686-8030 or visit americanfinancing.net/Gardner. Again, that's 888-686-8030. Okay, so let me just clarify. Are you saying that you believe that they kept the government shut in order to raise money and enrich themselves?
Oh, yeah. That's not even a question, though. That's not even a question. They kept the government shut in order to win the election on Tuesday, which is why they caved afterwards so quickly with basically nothing. There was nothing new on the table last night. Stephen, there was nothing new. There wasn't like, God didn't come down, like hand them some gift. This is the same deal that's been on the table for what, the past 40 days?
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, it was less than what they asked for. Someone that I've been very proud of actually is Senator Thune. He's really surpassed my expectations. Back in the day, I thought he was just a Mitch McConnell backbencher. But this guy's really impressed me. He's been, the way that he has led his caucus throughout this mess has been pretty impressive, I would say.
If we're going to get rid of Chuck Schumer, let's just throw Mitch McConnell out. That guy, these two have done so much damage to the American people. It's just gross to me. Okay, two Democrat senators admit the truth on the pressure that they were under in order to try to hurt Trump. Let me show you the first one with Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois, and then we'll switch over to Tim Kaine in Virginia. Both of these, they admit the truth. I'm proud of them for doing that, but I don't like them. But let me go ahead and show this to you.
After lengthy negotiations, an agreement was reached with the Republican Senate leader, John Thune. We will agree to open the government until January 30th, 2026. During that time, we will pass 3 bipartisan appropriation bills that will fully fund SNAP, WIC, and all the veterans programs, and finish our work on the remaining spending bills for this fiscal year. The agreement would also reverse the Trump administration's mass firings during the shutdown and prevent future ones through January 30th. We credit Senator Kaine of Virginia for this provision. Leader Thune has also promised the Democrats an opportunity before mid-December to present a Democratic bill on the floor with proposals to change the law and protect American families from dramatic health care premium increases. It is my fervent hope that this ends up being a bipartisan effort. It would be such an achievement of the Senate to finally return to that status. I've served in the Senate for 29 years, and I've never seen that kind of offer from a Senate majority. During the historic roll call last night, I walked across the aisle and met with Senator John Thune, the Republican leader. I told him that I was counting on him to keep his word on this agreement. He assured me he would. The fate of this effort depends on both the Senate and the House of Representatives. After a 7-week absence, the Speaker Johnson needs to call his members back and join us in the hard work that lies ahead. Many of my friends are unhappy. They think we should have kept our government closed indefinitely to protest the policies of the Trump administration. I share their opinions of this administration, but cannot accept a strategy which wages political battle at the expense of my neighbor's paycheck or the food for his children.
All right, that last line. Many of my friends are unhappy. They think we should have kept our government closed indefinitely to protest the policies of the Trump administration, but cannot accept a strategy which wages political battle at the expense of my neighbor's paycheck or the food of his children. Wow. I mean, like, didn't they just do a no kings protest saying Trump is a king, he does whatever they want? And here they are, like kings of old, starving their people until they get their way. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Stephen, also, it's just so revolting and it makes me nauseous. I come from an authoritarian regime, okay? So when I saw the No Kings protest, my immediate reaction is just scoffing. Because you think Xi Jinping is going to allow the Chinese people to have a No Kings protest? Really? Every single one of them would have been, quote unquote, disappeared, okay? It's just so insulting to the people who've actually been under, authoritarian regimes. You think Trump would allow people to criticize him on TV on an hourly, minute-by-minute basis if he were a king? Like, honestly, it's just an insult. Like, please, be my guest. Like, go to an actual communist or an authoritarian regime and see what life is like. Okay? I'm actually even terrified of seeing my grandmother because I know I'm going to get arrested the moment I step foot in China. That is actual terror. You marching or like somebody marching for 2 hours on the street, you're not marching against tyranny. You're marching for Instagram. You just want to show your friends that, oh, you care about the Republic. You're just being a social justice warrior. It's not actually doing anything useful. And the same is true for all these senators. And Dick Durbin, by the way, I know him as well. He's saying all of this stuff because he doesn't care anymore. He's on his way out the door.
Yeah, he didn't want his last act to be starving American children. He wants to retire with dignity. He's not somebody that I particularly care for, but and I wanted to show you Tim Kaine, but I accidentally hit the X button and the video disappeared. But I'll just paraphrase.
Well, I can just tell your audience about Tim Kaine.
Yeah,
the most boring, unappealing senator you will ever meet. When they picked him in 2016 to be Hillary's running mate, even as like a 24-year-old, 25-year-old, I was stunned. What was she thinking? What was she thinking? And I know that when she was running in for president in 2008, she considered the same guy. She considered Tim as well and wrote him off as too boring. She should have just stuck with that. Tim is the most unappealing senator I've ever met, and a bunch, and that's saying a lot because a lot of them are boring as hell.
Yeah, so
I'm not going too hard. I'm sorry. I'm I'm feeling very unfiltered today.
Well, the video that I wanted to show you, Lindy, he said, I've been so busy with other stuff. I didn't even know why I was voting no. And once I realized why, I had to vote to reopen the government. Like, this is a sitting senator who just admitted on TV, I wasn't even paying attention. They told me to vote no. I just voted no because it makes Trump look bad. And then when he realized, oh, wait a minute, we're the ones that are about to starve children. We're the ones that aren't letting the military be paid. I can't do that. Now, that could be all lies from him, but that's what he said on live national TV, that he wasn't even paying attention to the government shutdown. He was just going with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, we are just chess pieces for them. They don't care. They just don't care. It's all about defeating Trump. And they think that they can use this to make the American people forget how deeply unpopular they are. And let's not forget that New York and Virginia are Democratic enclaves. So winning there isn't actually that big of a deal. It's not a swing state. Kamala Harris won both.
Yeah, it would be like a Republican winning Utah. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we knew that New Jersey would probably stay blue. They've been blue since 1960. We knew Virginia would probably go back. We didn't have a strong candidate there. She wasn't MAGA. She wasn't, asking for Trump's help. We knew that Mamdani was going to win New York City. Like, nobody should be shocked.
And Stephen, I want to point something else out that's extremely important. The reason why I deeply believe that they shut down the government for Virginia in particular. You know what I mean? Because the state that is most impacted by the federal shutdown is Virginia. They knew that hundreds of thousands of workers would be furloughed in Virginia, and they would be pissed. They did it for Virginia. Okay, so this whole thing was a bunch of election engineering. They don't actually care about the American people.
Wow. Okay, let me switch gears with you in these final moments. There was something about Obamacare that was pointed out on the floor of Congress that just it actually really stunned me. Let me pull this up and we'll listen to it together. But basically, we've been taking billions and billions of dollars from Americans' paychecks in order to enrich insurance companies so that their stock goes up. Most members of Congress own this stock, and then those very companies donate to keep them in office. Listen to this bull crap.
I want to turn to talk about fraud just a little bit more. Get this, 35 to 40% of Obamacare recipients that are enrolled in Obamacare never file a claim. Let me say that again. There's 24 million people on Obamacare. 35, 40% of those people never file a claim. These are ghost people. They don't even know they're on Obamacare. They've been falsely enrolled in Obamacare. Now, some people would say, "Oh, but there's always some people that don't file a claim." It's usually more like 10%. More like 10% of people in a pool of insurance products are not filing the claim. In this case, it's 35 to 40%. And overall, I think we could say that this group of people in Obamacare is a high-risk group. Big cities like Chicago have pushed people that took early retirement, have pushed them onto Obamacare. These are typically sick people that have been pushed off other plans, and they went towards Obamacare. And trust me, I want to address that. That's why we need a high-risk pool that would address those types of folks as well. But the point here is that some 10 million people on Obamacare are not using it, but the federal government is getting the entire premium paid. The insurance companies are getting the entire premium paid by the federal government. So 10 million people, a premium every month. It's like a slot machine going to big insurance companies.
40% of the tens of billions of dollars every single year goes to nothing. The insurance companies just pocket that as profit, screw over the American people, and then their stock shoots up. This is disgusting to me. This system is so broken.
It is so broken, and the pharmaceutical industry and the healthcare industry, they donate primarily to Democrats, in particular Bernie Sanders, which is so ironic to me, by the way. And it's like a Ponzi scheme. It's, for lack of a better word, and I'm sorry to use it, it's like a circle jerk of corruption. The insurance companies donate to these politicians, and these politicians do everything they can to protect this boondoggle. And who is the victim? It's American people. It's American taxpayer. A lot of times people don't even want to go to the doctors for serious medical conditions because they're terrified of how much their copay is going to be. This is such a terrifying, it's such a deeply broken system. No one should be going bankrupt simply because they got cancer, simply because they got sick. I had a terrible accident a month or two ago. I fell on the street and my entire leg was smashed. And I'm obviously not poor, but even I didn't want to go to the emergency room. My entire leg was covered in blood, as well as my arm, and I still have scars on my palms. But I'm like, it's going to cost me $50,000 for them to just tell me to hang in there, So what's the point of going? I'm just gonna sit it out myself. But that's not the calculus that people should have. If they need help, they should go. But I'm also deeply discomforted by the fact that we have illegal aliens. Stephen, you and I have not talked about this yet. We have a lot of illegal aliens exploiting the system. If you are not paying into the system, I don't want you using the system. I want to prioritize American people first. However, we still have legal aliens showing up to the emergency room because they know that they can't be turned away. That's not the way it should work. Okay? The healthcare industry is a finite system, meaning that resources are limited, meaning that we should triage and put the American people first. Why is it such a bigoted thing to say? It should be common sense. It should be patriotic to want to elevate the American people first.
Yeah, I mean, look at this, what Trump put out. So since Obamacare, United Health Group taking in all of this taxpayer money for nothing, their stock is up 1,177%. Cigna up 822%. Molina 859%. You heard it right there on the Senate floor. 10 million people every year, they're just collecting money to do absolutely nothing. Then they raise their prices. Then you have places like New York and California where they have millions and millions of illegal immigrants using the ER as private insurance, and then they don't pay their bill. And what do? They then raise the prices on everybody else. The entire system is a scam that is draining your wallet and my wallet. Why? Because they need illegal immigrants to win elections. And I guess now they need to punish Donald Trump because their popularity is sinking in the toilet.
Yeah. Also, it's not just about elections, though. It's about the census and the drawing of the congressional districts. So according to some studies, if without illegal aliens, California would lose 2 to 3 congressional seats. So yeah, it's about electoral power, but it's also about the portioning of federal resources, because the more congressional seats a state has, the more funding they get from the federal government. And Elon even tweeted about this a while ago. According to some studies, without illegal aliens, Democrats will lose 20 seats around the country.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why they're so eager to invite illegal aliens here. That's why they offer these free boondoggles. We pay $150 billion a year on illegals. That is money that's not being spent on our own Americans who are hurting. You know, we have millions of people who are starving, in need of healthcare, education, housing. Why are we giving it to people storming the border? I just don't understand.
I don't get it either. I didn't realize how much money and time and resources all these.
In that figure, it's 150 billion. I've looked at it from many different sources. I even quoted it on my own show. This is very important to me. And I feel like I have an obligation to speak out because I am a legal immigrant. I came here from England. I was born in China, came here from England. My family applied. We did everything the right way. We paid our way. We never took a handout. Never, ever. My dad was a doctor. We built an American business. We created hundreds of American jobs. This is the way it should be. If you want to come to our country, you better make it stronger. You better pay into the system. You better take care of the American people. That's the way it should be. If you're just going to take advantage of our generosity, then maybe don't come, with all due respect.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I want to ask one final question. Do you think, so ICE, they're going out and they're collecting these criminal illegals, and then they're just getting, like 1,000% increase on death threats and physical violence to their bodies. But at the same time, the majority of Trump's deportations have been self-deportation. I'm just wondering if we aggressively doge every area where we believe there's illegal immigrants. You cut off the money, they will leave the country. You cut off the money to California, they'll leave California. You cut off to New York, they'll leave New York. You name any state, you cut that off. I'm just wondering, should we doge all of those areas, and should we be doging SNAP?
I love how you're using doge as a verb. Excellent. I love that. I love the strategy, but I also don't think it's enough. We have to go harder. I'm very hard right on immigration because there are still there are millions of people who will stay no matter what. They're here to take advantage of our system. And we have to make sure that they know that, frankly, I'm sorry, people who break the law, they're not welcome. They're just not welcome. And I think it's so funny how Democrats are like, oh, these people, they have clean records. They never broke the law. No, honey. The moment you step a foot into this country uninvited, you are breaking the law. Do you understand? All these, do you know what it's like to have to wait for years to come to the United States the right way? That is a proper way. For people to just storm across the border and undermine our justice system, that is a desecration to all the legal naturalized Americans who did it the right way, who love our country, who assimilated, who learned how to speak English. Yeah. And by the way, when is asking people to speak English offensive? Now it's offensive all of a sudden? Please.
Yeah. My eyes have been opened up more in the last 10 months than even the last 48 months under Biden. And they were opened up quite a lot under Biden, but Trump is really pulling back the curtain. And you've got the Wizard of Oz saying, pay no attention to all the money we're stealing from the country, all the money going to foreign countries, all the money in these, piece of crap money laundering schemes. Doge just celebrated canceling $200 billion of wasted money. Doesn't even get talked about in the news. It's just sad. So
because it goes against the liberal media narrative, so they can't,
Yeah. Let me ask you one last question, and I appreciate you coming on. With everything that we went through, are you still optimistic about America? I am. I'm curious if you are.
I am. We are the greatest nation on earth. We are. I feel every day, I feel so blessed to be American. Every single day. I sometimes have to, almost pinch myself. Being American is the greatest gift I've ever received. And yes, we have our share of problems, but I wouldn't exchange it for the world. Patriots like you, I mean, you give me so much hope as well. You care deeply about this country, and I've spoken with you behind the scenes, and I want your viewers to know that even behind the scenes, Stephen is wonderful, and he's so patriotic, and he loves America. I mean, with you on our side, what do we have to fear, really? But I'm actually very jingoistic. I'm very America first. Maybe I'm a little bit America only. Sorry, not sorry. You know, I want to make sure that the 21st century is one of American hegemony as well. You know, I want to beat China, Russia, I mean, all of these countries. And for that to happen, we have to keep our eyes on the ball, make sure that we guard our intellectual property zealously, that we don't give it away needlessly, that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot. Yeah, and that we prioritize the American people. One last thing I'll say is one of the catalysts for the fall of the Roman Empire is what? Porous borders. Can we learn from history, please? And actually have strong borders and have national sovereignty? This happened before. We saw this movie before, okay? The Romans, Roman Empire, part of the reason why they fell is because they had barbarians at the gate. So let's not do that. Let's learn from them. And I'm very proud of what President Trump has done in terms of closing the border. That was absolutely a masterclass in how it should have been done 4 years ago during the Biden regime. But of course, they didn't. They very intentionally kept the nation open.
Yeah. Well, I'll just quote Trump. Turns out we didn't need a new policy. We just needed a new president. So
exactly.
I am also very grateful for him. Lindy, thank you so much. If people want to catch you online, what are some links that I can put down below for people?
Oh, thank you. I'm Lindy Lee on X. I'm on there every day. Love to hear from you. Thank you, Stephen. You are a national treasure. You really are. I love your insights, your wisdom, and your patriotism.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Well, thank you for coming on. I'll put those links down below. I hope you have a great rest of your day.